It looks like OMD is having some audio issues right now. This is Chris
Oh, there
Best.
we go.
We're the host of. There he
There we go.
is.
So as my audio issues continue to plague me, I do hope that in just a few short weeks they will not be plaguing me when I go to Grand Rapids to go raise hell and go to Upheaval Festival. Seeing some bands that are synonymous with wrestling music in Seven Dust, Killswitch Engage, Godsmack, Saliva, Drowning Pool, just to name a few.
I'm so jealous that you're going, dude. So jealous.
But it definitely is an amazing festival. I have been able to partake in one of them at least. It is a very cozy, intimate type of setting that I really enjoy.
Oh, that's my favorite thing about concerts, especially when we get concerts in our city. I love that we have a small venue, but we still attract big acts. I love that.
One of the things that has really drawn us to this festival as we went last year for the first time is that we're used to doing these 80,000 people a day in a stadium. And that's not counting the side stages.
No.
And this was about 40,000 people a day for the weekend.
But it didn't even feel like that.
No, it didn't.
Because of how big the area is and how widespread, especially with the hill and everything that's there in for Upheaval, right? Like it didn't feel like there was 40,000 people there, which is really nice. I mean,
yeah,
you and I have done Sonic Temple when it was known as Rock on the Range. And yeah, you get like 80,000 people like in one arena area, right? It's a soccer pitch. Yeah. It's an outdoor soccer pitch in Columbus, Ohio. But yeah, like that's sometimes too many people.
It is like you're just squished. Like even when you're trying to walk normally, it was almost as if Carl and I had to hold hands. Not that we wanted to, because that's just how tight it was.
Yeah,
it was an hour's lineup at the bathrooms or to get water from the fountain.
So, Chris, what's the what's the best band that you've gone to see?
Oh, best band I've gone to see. Oh, geez, I got to go with Tea Party. When I went and seen them at the pavilion here,
nice
free show, but they killed it. They killed it. It was awesome. My second favorite would have to be Finger 11 because that again, it was at the pavilion. It was packed, but they just brought the house down again.
OMD, from all the acts that you've seen, what's been your favorite?
Probably the two that stand out most to me were the first year you and I went to Rock on the Range together, and that would have to be Linkin Park.
Okay.
Because as we got Chester in one of his later years.
Yep.
And perhaps the most intense was Slipknot.
Right.
Same year.
Yes. Yes.
Now, one rock festival I've always wanted to go to is the one that takes place in Timmins. I can't remember the name of that one. I've always wanted to go check that
Rock
one
on
out.
the River?
Yeah.
Rock on the River kind of encompasses a lot of different things, though, too. Like it includes some country. It includes, a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But for some, they like it. For others, it's a pass.
Does. And, like this year, I believe, is the first year that Rock on the River is going 3 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I believe it's the Friday night, could be the Thursday, is the country night. The second night is our more modern rock.
Yeah.
Being headlined by Papa Roach and I can't remember who else.
I'm almost certain I saw Theory of a Deadman on this year's lineup.
And then the third night is near and dear to my heart as it is 80s night.
There we go.
And you're getting like Vixen and Steelheart headlined by Bret Michaels.
Oh, and speaking of the 80s, we've got some of the biggest female acts coming to our city. I still need to get my ticket for that.
Right?
Talking Paula Abdul, Taylor Dane, and Tiffany.
Yep.
I might
And for
go
those that
this Friday to get my ticket. I don't know yet.
And for
Sorry,
those
Carl,
that
I
might be
interrupted.
interested, my favorite two so far have been Slipknot and Rob Zombie. And both of them, go ahead.
Sorry, Carl, go ahead. No, I'm just I got something I want to say afterwards too.
No, say it now.
Okay, so I want to say that my third favorite band that I got to go see is the first rock concert I ever got to go to, and it was with you, Carl, when we went and seen Fozzy in Toronto in 2004.
Yes. Yes, that was a good one as well. I have seen Fozzy a number of times now, and they have always put on a good showtime, just like it is right now for us. It is showtime. So it would be very remiss if we did not start the show off giving our condolences to the Anoa'i family, the humongous family that is with the passing of Sika, one of the wild Samoans, a group that rarely spoke and always had a manager, usually one Mr. Captain Lou Albano, blood brother to their trainer, Peter Maivia, still within that family. And it's a sad day for us, at least, that very much so really got to see them in the 1980s. They began actually in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with Stampede Wrestling, winning the tag team championships on two separate occasions, working for Big Time Wrestling in Detroit, the National Wrestling Alliance, the International Wrestling Enterprise with their tours over in Japan, the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, Mid-South Wrestling, and even down in Georgia as well. They returned to the WWF, and then they worked for the AWA a little bit as well, and did a lot of independent scene work too. The Wild Samoans were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2007 on the eve of WrestleMania 23. Sad day for all of us in the world of professional wrestling.
Yes. Tragic.
Yeah.
I've said it when Dusty passed. I've said it because of the late Mr. Perfect and numerous others. I am humbled that I was able to attend that Hall of Fame ceremony that weekend of WrestleMania 23. Thank you, Sika. Thank you, Wild Samoans. Thank you, Anoa'i family.
Chris?
I'm just gonna. My earliest memory of Sika, I was telling OMD prior to us going live, was WrestleMania 4. That goes to show how old we are as wrestling fans. WrestleMania 4 was a tape that I consistently rented from one of our local video shops. It was either Bandito Video I was renting it from, or Flam Video on Second Line in our city.
Yes.
And
I remember that.
And I always rented WrestleMania 4 because it was 2 tapes. So to me, a young kid, 2 tapes, more is more. I got to see all the wrestlers on the card. Sika was on that card. Sika was in the Battle Royal in that opened the show.
Right.
And I just remember just being enthralled by just looking at him because of that that stature he carried. He wasn't a very tall guy. He was big though, and and his hair just poofed right out, and still seeing him contributing to the wrestling business from the time he debuted till today when he passed away just blows my mind. He had a deep love and a deep passion for the wrestling family, or for wrestling, and he definitely. I mean, we still feel it today with the bloodline. I mean, he trained every member of the bloodline in there.
Yep.
So to you, Sika, I acknowledge you.
We appreciate all the contributions that have been made. We do have a number of different stories to get through here as well tonight. And I think the first one that I want to start with, Chris, you and I did talk about this a little bit during or at the CWE show that we commentated featuring D'Lo Brown. But we talked about one of my friends and somebody that has been helpful in situations within my life. This person is somebody that I have interviewed before, but maybe underneath a little bit of a different name. At that time, when I interviewed this person, they were known as Gabbi Tuft. Now, Gabe has taken the steps to transition and is now Gabbi Tuft. And Gabbi has definitely helped me out. And I mean, we're still friends. We still, talk once in a while, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I absolutely love Gabbi for everything that they have done. And there's some interesting news. Gabbi had at one time said that she was done with the world of professional wrestling. Something has changed. Chris, what has changed?
So this was what you and I were discussing about her being done with the business. And I remember saying these exact words to you, Carl. The words never say never. Now that day you had brought up too that she had posted that she was looking to get back in the ring. She has now been booked to wrestle for West Coast Pro Wrestling on June 25th. She wrote on her Twitter that everything was unfolding according to plan as far as her training and everything like that. She encouraged everybody to stay faithful, and there was more to what's going on with her and West Coast Pro Wrestling. She was a little bit mysterious about that. However, the match she noted that the match that she's going to be in will air at a later date with West Coast Pro Wrestling and the United Wrestling Networks. United Wrestling Network outlets, such as it's going to show up on YouTube and Triller TV.
Oh, nice. Now, is that going to be like a paid YouTube?
It doesn't specify in the article here.
Okay. Because I know YouTube does have some like subscription things that you can do, right? Like TNA has their stuff on YouTube, but you have to pay for it, type of thing, right? So, and I know that Thriller TV is a pay site.
Well, not quite. Triller TV does have a pay option for shows, but they also offer a lot of free wrestling shows on there too. So
that's true. Yeah.
But this actually excites me because I won't lie. When she was wrestling under her original stage name, Tyler Rex, I liked her. I liked her. So
I did too. And that's why, Joe and I, in the beginning days, really worked with our producer back then at Energy Rock Radio and tried to secure an interview. And thankfully we were able to get it. And it was fantastic. And this is all pre Gabbi. So it was amazing.
Yes. And I was actually a part of that interview with you guys as well. And it was a fantastic interview. So I'm interested to see how this unfolds. Like, we know she's been training with both Natalia and TJ Wilson at the Heart Dungeon, as well as at the Nightmare Factory with Dustin.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting because, you know, you get this creepy, like, mother arrives. So is she going for this darker heel character? One of the things that I've always wanted to see with her, and I think this would be huge for the LGBTQ community as well as the transgender community, would be to see her go and do a one-off match in AEW with Nyla Rose.
I think that would be, yeah, I'd be down for that. I like Nyla Rose. I enjoy watching her wrestle, so I think they'd put on a decent show.
So this is the latest picture, really, that she's put out, where she essentially says, and this was a few days ago. This was on Saturday. It says, in 3 days, the chains come off. Prepare yourselves, my children. Mother is coming. And then included this photo.
So I didn't read the date on her post, but it's a match that's happening tonight.
Yes. Yep, it is tonight.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep, definitely is tonight. So it's
I'm definitely gonna have to watch out on YouTube for that match.
Oh, 100%. I don't know when or anything, like when it's going to be actually released onto YouTube, but I'm excited for it, to say the least. This was 3 days ago as well. Let me get that. There we go.
That font where it says mother is giving me Danzig vibes.
Yep.
A little bit, but I'm also kind of getting like some Maria Brink, or, you know, some like gothic type of font that is in there, right?
Yeah.
And then everything must occur in a specific order. Stay faithful. What unfolds next is only part 1. So
I like how she's keeping her cards close to her chest.
Me as well.
It does sound like she's wanting to get.
But I'm wondering, with this return and this whole mother aspect
into the ring, because as I said,
and we've got complete silence from Mr. Best now. OMD, what were you saying there?
So as we are seeing this darker, more
really
sinister character from her, or what we are expecting, I'm going to wonder is, does she maybe make a return as the 6th in a certain family?
No, not at all. I don't believe that she's even... I know that she is kind of looking at the WWE, but it's more NXT, not necessarily, Raw or SmackDown or anything big like that, right? And she understands that she's just getting back into it, and that it's going to be a whole world of difference compared to Tyler Rex to now Gabbi Tuft, or Mother, as we may even see her as. So it's going to be something that she really needs to work on to be able to work with the females, as opposed to the brutality that used to be there as Tyler Rex.
Right.
I'm hoping that we see some of that savageness that she had as Tyler Rex, though, because that's what made me like her as him.
Right. Yeah, of course. And I think we definitely will. But it's gonna feel different, because it is different.
Right.
You can still have that brutality, right? Like you see, they can turn it on and turn it off sometimes with like Becky Lynch or Charlotte, Britt Baker as well, right? You've got these amazing females that can roll around with like the Mariah Mays, and do the fancy schmancy little, schoolgirl type of thing. And then you put them in there with like a Nyla Rose, let's say, who is, a monster, or Abaddon, even Abaddon, she's amazing as well. And they can be that brutality like Rhea Ripley. Okay, we're dropping little names, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think we're definitely going to see a little bit of that, but I think it's going to be, for right now, probably just a little bit more reserved as this mother character builds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What I like is how she's getting back into the business. She's not jumping off the diving board into the deep end. She's
Right.
she's dipping her toe on the shallow side of the pool first before figuring out if she wants to continue doing this afterwards. And that's the smart way of getting back into the ring, in my personal opinion.
I agree. So look forward to that tonight, people. At some point, hopefully it does show up for free for us on YouTube or on Thriller, where we will be able to bear witness to Gabbi Tuft back inside the professional wrestling ring. Mother isn't just on her way. Mother has arrived. What other stories have we got for this week?
I've got, you know what do we talk about? I can speak English, I promise you. Why don't we talk about why Pat McAfee was missing last night?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pat McAfee, as we know, last night, The Miz took over Pat McAfee's spot, and he did an okay job until it was time for him to go and get into his gear, because it takes a minute to get into your wrestling gear, to be honest with you. But Pat McAfee, conspicuous by his absence last night. At the time, it was reported by PW Torch that he couldn't do Raw because of a family emergency. Well, it came out today that family emergency was the passing of his father-in-law. He did the Pat McAfee show with Triple H that morning, and as he was wrapping up the show, he got the call from his wife saying that he had passed. His father-in-law was feeling sick on Friday, I believe they said.
Right.
Brought him to the hospital. They kept him till Sunday. They let him go, and he ultimately passed. He didn't say what sickness it was, but our wishes go out to Pat McAfee and family on that one. Our prayers are out for him. Hopefully we do see him back at the commentators booth at his pace, though.
Right.
Yes, we hope that he takes the time to grieve this properly. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family at this time. And I do hope that he comes back fairly soon, and brings his energy back to Raw, because it was the crowd that made up for him not being there last night.
And because of Pat McAfee's absence, there was last minute changes to the Wyatt 6 storyline last night.
Yes.
The box that was handed to Michael Cole was intended for Pat McAfee.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're not sure if they are going to incorporate this into the Wyatt 6 storyline, because we do know that his show has been targeted a few times as well with this.
Yes.
And I don't know if I like that idea. I get why they would do it, but I don't know if I like it.
I don't think they would bring in his father-in-law passing away as part of a storyline.
I hope not. I hope not. You never know, though. I mean, we are getting into a little bit of a different state of mind, per se, when it comes to the WWE. But of course, our condolences and best wishes to Pat and his wife and the entire family. Now we know, and it's an unfortunate now we know. right? So
I mean, I think we kind of knew something was up because, as you said, Carl, on last night's show, that they were in his hometown for Raw.
Yep.
right.
So
Yeah.
something we had to have known that, or had to have had that feeling that something had to have happened for him to miss Raw, because he's not known for missing shows when he's booked to be a part of them.
No,
He's
definitely
never
not.
I've never heard of him missing a show. So
Yeah, I really haven't either, right? So it was intriguing, it was different, it was something that we didn't really expect. But we found out and we heard.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of the risque when it comes to things, we talked about that just a moment ago when it comes to the WWE and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There is new information as well coming out about the partnership with Netflix. Chris, you have a little bit more on that too, don't you?
Yeah, so Triple H, as I mentioned previously, he was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday morning, and he brought out more details on what to expect as far as the Netflix deal goes. One of those was the fact that they are planning to go uncensored. Now, I belong to a few Attitude Era groups, and I'm just going to say this right now. They all think the Attitude Era is coming back. I'm on the side of saying that no, it is not coming back. Yes, they are going to do a little bit more risque stuff, but they still have to appeal to their sponsors, because even though they're going to Netflix and they don't necessarily need sponsors because of Netflix, they still do, because they still need somebody to make their toys. They still need somebody to make their shirts. They still need to make somebody to advertise what WWE is doing. They need those sponsors for that.
Right.
Sorry, do you go ahead?
With the move to Netflix, outside of the USA, everybody else gets it on Netflix. We will get everything.
Mm-hmm.
The USA is only getting Raw. NXT moves to the CW. SmackDown's moving to USA.
Right.
So yes, we are going to get edgier content. Do I think we're going to go back to the Attitude Era? No. Are we going to get a little more blood? Possibly, but hopefully only when it's called for.
I could be fine with that too, right?
Do we want to see the women going back to the matches we saw in the Divas era? No.
Now there's also been something else I saw circulating, but I haven't been able to find anything on to corroborate that. But there's talk of moving Raw back to 2 hours.
Yes, I have seen the same thing, and actually our good friend Mr. Sergeant Commando actually had that posted yesterday.
That's where I was going with it. Was only an image, but I could not find anything that corroborates that. Like I couldn't find any
seen
articles.
It as well.
How many places have you seen it?
I had seen it through both Sports Keto, which is also where our friend got it. And it said, but there was also going to be no ads for premium users on Netflix, which I had heard before.
Yeah.
So supposedly it says Raw will be back to 2 hours, no ads for premium users, more uncensored and edgier content, no PG guidelines, and SmackDown goes to a 3-hour show.
Yeah, and see, that's, as I'm reading this, I'm looking at like basically the notes from the interview, and there's nothing that Hunter says about that. So
yeah,
because that definitely would have been something that was brought forth, especially when he was on the Pat McAfee show and talking about, the little bit of the edgier content that is going to be attributed with Netflix. That would have been the time to say, hey, and we're moving it to 2 hours, right?
Here's the big problem with that too. The amount of superstars that will lose TV time if they do that.
With the 2-hour show, yeah, for sure they would. For sure they would.
I'm good with the no ads for premium users, and I will pay for that.
Oh, I've already earmarked money aside for that, so I can pay for the subscription. There's a lot of things I have to get. There's a lot of reasons I have to get Netflix back. So,
yes,
but yeah, I'm excited about seeing just what they mean by this more edgier content, and I'm just going to assume that it's going to be kind of like how AEW does it, except better. If you know what I mean.
I'm thinking it's going to be language. I'm thinking it's going to be, like I said, maybe a little more blood, but only when it's called for. I don't want us to see somebody going out there and being John Moxley on screen.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Maybe,
but if they wanted to, that's the place to do it, because they can now take things, and especially with this deal, right? So they can go a little more cinematic with things. Whoa. And you know, with Netflix, you've got horror, you've got crime, you've got drama, you've got everything that you can think of. Every genre is there, including, you can even find, if you do a deep dive, some of the B-rate cult classic movies that are just gore.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I was on Netflix.
There you go.
Twice.
Yeah.
Something just clicked in my brain that got me super excited with this idea of going uncensored with WWE.
Talk about it.
Just imagine, because we already know the creative mind of Bo Dallas. We already know the creative mind of Bray Wyatt. Can you imagine just how much further they can take the Wyatt Six storyline when they go to Netflix?
Yep. Can you imagine how much the creative mind of Paul Heyman will thrive on Netflix? Yeah. We have heard and seen some posts, whether they are true or not, about a resurgence of ECW.
Yeah, but that was just for the A&E show.
Yes. To my understanding, that's all it was for. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to see Paul Heyman's creative mind going with Netflix. Yes, you've got the Wyatt Six stories, even the Judgment Day.
I think even Final Testament, they can.
Yes, Final Testament is what Chris Best is saying there, and
further,
I feel that he's mentioning how much further they could go with the faction as well with the Final Testament.
Yes.
Was that close, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly it. I'm like, they can do something further with the Final Testament.
Yes. So we've talked about how this deal is going to change wrestling. Chris, you brought an article to both of us earlier tonight about another deal that happened back in 2001 that changed the wrestling world, and the man that was behind it.
Yeah. I hate to be the bearer of bad news today, but why the hell not? Bad news has been following me all week. Jamie Kellner, the guy who was the figurehead for the AOL Time Warner merger that ultimately ended WCW, has sadly passed away. Jamie Kellner has a very prolific history in television. He is the creator of Fox TV. He also created the WB. This man, while in my personal opinion, I think he was the one who killed WCW. I don't think it was Vince Russo. I don't think it was the booking committee or Hulk Hogan or anything else that everybody else says, because it was this man. Because Eric Bischoff as we all know, was set to purchase WCW with Fusion Media.
Mm-hmm.
But Jamie Kellner wouldn't give him the TV time. Thus, that's what led to WCW ending.
Okay.
He passed away on Friday. He had he's also had his hands in, because, like I said, he started the Fox network. He also had his hands in starting popular shows like The Simpsons, Married with Children, Cops, In Living Color, 21 Jump Street. This dude, very prolific in television. And I just want to say our prayers are with the Kellner family in their time of need. Like I said, I wasn't a big fan of him because of what he did to WCW, but he did change the course of wrestling history because of that.
Yes. Yes, he did. This has been a very tragic week in the world of wrestling. I mean, our thoughts and prayers can go out to everybody. I mean, we are losing our family.
Yeah, essentially we are. Yeah, with every worker and everyone that has a little bit to do with the world of professional wrestling, it definitely hits each and every one of us, and sometimes in a different way, you know, especially like Chris was talking about. He wasn't really the biggest fan of this person, but can still have that heart to be able to show a little bit of condolences when needed, right?
Well, I mean, like, I still respect what he's done because of the fact that the majority of the shows I had mentioned were shows that we all grew up watching and shows that we all loved. I mean, In Living Color, I mean, that show went off the air over 30 years ago, and there's still a lot of people that talk about Homie the Clown, for instance, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Fly Girls.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, but I've got the In Living Color theme song on Spotify in my playlist, in one of my playlists. It's a great theme song. I like it.
It is. It definitely is. Something not so great, and more information has come out, and we're definitely going to cover this in some sort of fashion, because we have to. We are people that talk about professional wrestling, and we need to get some more information, unfortunately, but this needs to be brought out for now. We're talking about Charles Skaggs, or as many people may know him as Cold Scorpio. So reports have come out that there was an altercation of sorts with a possible self-defense claim, and that Cold Scorpio was arrested for violent stabbing. According to the documents, it happened around 3:40 a.m. at a Love's Travel stop in Kansas City, Missouri, where Cold has been working as a security guard at the store when he apparently saw a man light a cigarette, or what was thought to have been light a cigarette, up inside the store. The person who was stabbed is still with us, was taken to the hospital, and was able to give reports as well, but says that he had thought that he had extinguished the cigarette enough before entering the store, but must not have, and that he did not light it up in the store, but it may have self-ignited once again, which, as a former smoker, I know sometimes can happen.
It's happened.
Yep.
It's happened.
Yep.
I once had a cigarette outside the Galaxy, thought I put it out, put it in my pocket, and went to the movie, and then I felt it still burning as I was waiting for the movie.
Yep.
In my pocket.
Right. So apparently the altercation started on the inside of the building, where Skaggs told the guy that he couldn't smoke inside. He claims that the man became upset and used some explicit language, and essentially said, "What are you going to do?" Skaggs says that the man threatened him, and then the two eventually made their way outside the store where the guy tried to grapple with him or fight him. And during the scuffle, Skaggs told authorities that he pulled a knife from his pocket and stabbed the guy in self-defense. He says that the altercation went on for several more moments, and in the squabble, he got in a few more stabs too.
Mhm.
So, unfortunately, using those kind of words and that verbiage is not something that's going to help his case, especially when he's like, yeah, I did it, and I got in a couple more licks as well. Right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Although it is a difficult situation that we really have to, sometimes be careful with, we do know that he has bonded out and he's pleaded not guilty to the charges, and he's due back in court for a hearing in the case next month. I don't know what to think of this. I am a security guard myself. I know the types of situations that we can get into as security professionals. And sometimes those are the types of situations. I have been in situations where I have not needed to pull out a knife per se, but I do wear a bulletproof vest. I
Mhm.
do usually have a baton on me, and I have had to deploy it, never use it. I have had to grapple and take people down to detain them for arrest. And these situations happen. So,
Yeah.
and especially if, like if you're working late nights, that was 3:40 in the morning. If you're tired, somebody comes in and, you kind of think you see something. So you ask them to leave, and then maybe they're a little snarky back because they're tired as well. Situations can escalate really quickly.
Yeah.
In Canada, we have a little bit of a different type of situation. We are not armed. We don't have pepper spray. We don't have firearms that we can carry.
Not even tasers?
Not even tasers. No, I have been licensed to carry a baton and handcuffs, so that I legally can do. But anything else, I really can't. Whereas in the States, they're a little bit more open and accepting of that with the proper training,
Yeah.
right? When Too Cold was here, him and I were standing outside and we were talking, and we were shooting stories back and forth because he's been working security for a while. I've been working security for 11 years. And it's hard because I can understand, but at the same point, I maybe can't understand the extra licks, maybe. Right. But then I do understand because sometimes you have to.
And
at the end of the day, you need to go home.
Right.
Yeah. And because Carl, you and I know we've spoken to Too Cold on a more personal level. So this is where it kind of hits a little bit of home for us at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm like, I kind of see where Too Cold is coming from, but at the same time, there have been moments where I've gotten, because I used to be a violent person, surprisingly. You guys know me as a very calm, very chill person, but there were times where I got a little excessive, and I know where he's coming from on a mental level on that case, and
right.
maybe something just clicked in him, and he's like, okay, I can't get this guy. I got to get some licks in. I can't detain him,
Yeah. I mean, it definitely happens.
Mm.
And I guess because I was going to ask, why is he, as a security guard carrying a knife? But I guess there are different rules in, different parts of the world.
Different laws for different states in the U.S.
Yes,
That's how it is.
States, yes.
But yeah, I mean, especially because I was going to rely on your security experience. Now, I don't know if you know this. I had an old friend who used to own the Eastgate downtown.
Okay.
And they had me do minor bouncing. I had to basically watch the washroom to make sure nobody was bringing their beer in.
Right.
Never had an issue with it. I did have to get in and help break up a couple of fights, specifically cat fights, because I mean, you guys know I am not the biggest, most physical person in the world.
Right.
Mhm.
And even then, like, I took some good shots from those, but you know, I wasn't, especially when I was breaking up a cat fight, I wasn't hitting back.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get it. And it's people are always scoffing at, oh, you're just a security, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, sometimes these are the types of situations that we physically get into and run into. And sometimes they work out in our favor and sometimes they really don't. And unfortunately, it seems this one is a time where it just really didn't work in the favor of Charles.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
again, like when I first heard this story, I'm like, that's not the Too Cold I know. That's not the Too Cold Carl knows.
Right. But again, being somebody that is in that industry, I get it and I understand. That's, you know, it sucks, but that's the way it is.
I mean, even in the years, even in the times that we worked night shift, and I don't think you were with me. I mean, I've dealt with, you know, being robbed at gunpoint.
Yep.
I've had to break up a fight in the middle of the restaurant at 2 a.m. and call the police. And, you know, like, you're talking about a coffee shop. Like, who gets into a fight at a coffee shop at 2 a.m? Or at least that's what most people would think. But it happens.
Depends on which location you were working too.
That's true. Well, we were working at one of the better ones, working at the one down on Trunk Road.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one Rico owns.
Yeah, right.
Now, this was long before
Rico
this was
before.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, with that, it is what it is, unfortunately. C'est la vie. With that, what other stories do we have for tonight?
We've got a story that at first confused me until I got more clarification on it. And we're going to go back to Triple H here in the WWE and them striking up a deal with the City of Indianapolis to host Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam all at Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, the reason that this confused me was because I thought that the City of Indianapolis was taking Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam all in the same calendar year until I actually read the article and it said future WrestleManias, future SummerSlams. Now I'm on the side of this is an excellent deal for the City of Indianapolis and for us too, because we don't live far from Indianapolis, boys. We can go there.
We can.
It's very true, and it's amazing how doing something like this. It's almost like it's almost like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and guaranteed money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're guaranteeing that they are going to be in these places for future. So it's almost as if they're like, okay, we know 100%. We know that the money is going to be there for these events.
Yes.
And it's a good plan for the future. It's not just, oh crap, WrestleMania is done. We got like two plate, like we're thinking about maybe we need to make a decision now type of thing. Well, now it's like, okay, so we've got Indianapolis on board. Now, what if New York gets on board? What if Florida gets on board? Right? Like, what if Georgia gets on board? We got all these, what if Toronto or Vancouver, right? Edmonton, Winnipeg, where these places start getting on board,
right?
I've been championing
and then they're building for the future.
I've been championing WrestleMania to go to Vancouver for a long time. So
I would love to see this a deal like this come to Toronto, because I would love to see WrestleMania or SummerSlam come back, or a Royal Rumble. We've had a bit of a discussion on a similar topic when TKO inked that deal with, I believe it was the Honda Center in Anaheim earlier this year for the next 5 years for joint production, I believe, weekends with WWE and UFC.
Right.
This is, I mean, again, great idea. I like this idea because now you can spread it out. Yes, you're going to start in a year's time with this, with the Royal Rumble, but you can spread it out. You don't need to do it in a calendar year. You don't need to do it 25, 26, 27. You've got from 25 to, I believe it's 2032 to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the beauty thing of this. I'm looking at this now as similar to the way the International Olympic Committee books their cities for the Olympics, because we know like 10 years down the road where the Olympics are going.
Mm-hmm.
We're now seeing that with what WWE is doing with this deal. I like that. I really do. It allows us, like for me, for instance, being a lower income person, it allows me to plan for these trips. So like if I wanted to if I had the money for the Royal Rumble next year and I found out in, let's say 2022 that they were coming, I could plan for those 3 years to go to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And it's fantastic to be able to do that, right? To be able to have the committees, like you're saying, right? Like the Olympic Committee, right? Like it's fantastic to be able to do so. And I think it's amazing how we continue to see so much good stuff still coming from the WWE, even after all of the controversy and things that have come up.
Yes.
For all of that. So it's really, really cool.
I mean, and as we look at this deal, I mean, it came down to sort of like, I could see this coming now as I look back when you saw that bidding war between Minnesota and Vegas for WrestleMania next year,
right?
Which was ultimately won by Vegas, but then Minnesota gets the first ever 2-night SummerSlam,
right?
So now,
and let's not. Sorry, OMD.
So, and Indianapolis this was announced by Triple H that Indianapolis will get a 2-night WrestleMania and a 2-night SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget, whenever they do this, they always have SmackDown and Raw in the same cities as well. So essentially, there's 12 events right there that's going to be planned for the city of Indianapolis and NXT. Sometimes NXT will have their own pay-per-view, especially with WrestleMania. They have Stand and Deliver that weekend.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the Hall of Fame. And I don't know what they call it, but their
Access.
Their convention. Yeah, Access. Thank you.
Yeah.
The convention that they do.
WWE World Now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was looking for the new name, but
no, it's still Access to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of access, I'm ready to get access to this piece of news in our showstopper segment. Oh my God in heaven is correct, as we receive some news from the indie god himself. Oh boy, maybe it's time for the indie god to come home. And by home, we're meaning independent promoters need to realize that Mr. Matt Cardona will be unavailable on February the 1st, 2025. We out Indianapolis. We just talked about the Royal Rumble going to be there. Yes, it is going to be on February 1st, but Matt Cardona has essentially told everyone that he is going to be part of the Royal Rumble. He has been working with the likes of TNA and AEW since his exit from the WWE. He has always expressed that he, does have an interest of going back to work for the WWE, but not bringing back the Zack Ryder woo, 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 it character. But instead being who he is, Matt Cardona. He is a free agent, just returning to TNA earlier this year with Steph DeLander. Guys, this okay? We've seen stuff like this before. Is this just Zack Ryder trolling us, or should we really be expecting to see Matt Cardona in the Royal Rumble? And how do you guys feel about that? Chris, I'm going to start with you.
So Matt Cardona, WWE has tried for the last 2 years now to try and get him to take part in the Royal Rumble. However, certain things had fallen through. He maybe, like this past year, he had a booking elsewhere that he just couldn't get out of.
Right.
The previous year, I think it was just money just didn't match up. And so I wouldn't put it past him to show up in the Royal Rumble. Now, here's the other surprise that I was thinking about, because it just clicked in my head when you said her name, because she does follow Matt Cardona basically everywhere. Steph DeLander showing up in the Women's Rumble would be awesome as well.
Right. Which would be really cool for a surprise entrant, but it wouldn't be a surprise entrant now, especially if we know that Matt Cardona essentially or technically or possibly is going to be in the Men's Royal Rumble. It's almost a guarantee now that Steph DeLander will probably be as well.
Yeah.
We do know that Cardona's wife is still part of professional wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So, and we do know where she is, right?
Yeah. Very prominently featured on SmackDown right now.
Right? Exactly. OMD, what are your thoughts on Matt Cardona and the Royal Rumble?
I would be excited for this if it happens. This was the first I've heard of this.
Oh, really?
It was you breaking this
me
news.
too.
I hadn't heard of this at all.
Okay, awesome.
So you caught me right out of the blue with this.
That's why you heard my giddy noise.
Do I think it's him trolling? No. Okay. Do I suspect that there might be some aspect to it? Yes. If he is going to be coming back, I think it's going to be announced long before he actually makes his way as a surprise entrant. I think he would make a return to Raw, SmackDown, even potentially NXT first.
Right.
There's actually a part of me too that I know that he's going, if he does show up, it is going to be under the Matt Cardona gimmick. There is a part of me that wants him to come out to the O Radio theme song, because I like that. I do like that theme song.
Do we see the two faces? Do we see Zack Ryder and Matt Cardona enter the Royal Rumble?
I hope not, to be honest. I don't want that. I want just Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the theme music, okay, like you want the pop, then yes, you're going to start with the O Radio and then it cuts. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be more than enough to get the crowd pumped, excited, and going. In comes Cardona's theme that he's been using on the other circuits, and cool.
I think by now everybody is familiar enough with the always ready start to his theme that you wouldn't need the O Radio, but I do like the nostalgia factor.
I think you would need the O Radio though, because you've got people who only watch WWE, i.e. Bubba Duke, i.e. the Bulkster, who would only know those themes.
Yeah, you do have those diehards that wouldn't understand the always ready. right? So
I'm also just, because we're talking February 1st, we're talking Royal Rumble. I'm going on a bold prediction, and I've been saying it for a couple of weeks off air. Say his name and he appears. He's going to the Royal Rumble.
Well, we saw it last
yeah.
week on NXT with the Battle Royale.
Yeah. But
yeah,
no.
definitely Joe Hendry will be part of the Royal Rumble. Guaranteed.
Yeah. But this just, I can't take the smile off my face, because ever since he left the WWE, I wanted him to come back.
Right. Right. I was always a fan of Zack Ryder. I definitely was. I was always wooing. My ex-wife hated it every time I did it, but I did it nonetheless because, well,
how can you hate Zack Ryder? How can you hate him? He's just, there's just something about Matt Cardona, whether he's a heel or a babyface, there's just something about him that just makes you just love the dude.
Right. Yeah.
And he played it smart, because he went down the Cody Rhodes way when he left the WWE. He banked on himself, and now look where he is. So if he comes back, and if it's going to be like a full-time deal with the WWE, I see world title potential in him.
Yep.
Definitely I do as well. As we wrap things up here for this edition, Chris, let everybody know your socials.
All right. You guys can find me youtube.com at CBRS Entertainment, twitch.tv, CBRS_entertainment, threads.net at CBSFilms83, Facebook.com, Chris.best83, TikTok.com, CBRS.entertainment.
OMD.
The people can find me on the Book of Faces, Daniel Harisic, HRYCYK. On Snapchat, One Man Dynamic, capitals on OM&D. On Twitch at OMD17, and on Discord at OMD6370.
And for myself, you all can take a look at my link tree, linktr.ee/Karl Karufel. That's linktr.ee/KARLKARUFEL. And if you are interested in seeing what is available from Turnbuckle Studios on a weekly basis, well, we got you covered. Take a look at this. For Chris Best, for OMD, and myself, Karl Karufel, we thank you for joining us on this edition of Turnbuckle Talk, episode number 378, Remembering Sika, June 25th, 2024. Remember, everyone, the world's a scary place. Take care of each other.